mentioned, paiN are in that dreaded auto-relegation spot. If they lose, they are done. Players on the team will be moving down to Challenger League at the conclusion of the season, no matter what happens in Week 14, which will be a pivotal week for Red Devils, who haven't gotten a single point yet. They're going to be playing against Team Liquid in our final matchup of the day, but we'll focus on this match for the time being. paiN Gaming versus Ninjas in Pyjamas on Coastline. A bit of a surprise, given the fact that it had the lowest pick rate in all of Latin America.
Well, it'll be Glass taken away at the availability by the behest of Ninjas in Pyjamas, and then, yeah, okay, there goes a Nomad. paiN not really wanting to deal with the ultimate flank watch utility that is Nomad ever since she's come in. I mean, she's been hit or miss on the ban rate. You know, there were plenty of people screaming for the Armageddon, the doomsday of Nomad entering Pro League in her current form and saying, you know, the ban rate's going to be 100% just like Lion. Well, that hasn't really happened.
I think a large part of that has just simply been that she can tend to be quite map dependent,
yes,
and site dependent as well. When you look at certain maps that are quite large in the way they're played out, for example, Bank, she doesn't see a huge amount of picks on Bank. Coastline, she gets picked quite a bit because her radius is enough to cover most of the hallways and the doors. It also just simply could be that while she might not get a lot of play on her own, it could come down to maybe paiN, who banned out Nomad, don't want Ninjas in Pyjamas to be able to use her because they're very comfortable with her. You know, you look at Empire in Europe, for example, and Joystick has replaced Ashe with Nomad. And it's not even necessarily because of her gadget, it's because they really like her gun. Sometimes that's all that matters. If you have a good gun in the hands of a player who's very strong with it, which is something that Latin America does quite a lot. They pick operators that have guns that they align themselves with quite effectively. Psycho is a good example of that on that MPX, and the information that is given from the black eye cams of Valkyrie is great, but a lot of times that information is used for him to be able to get in crazy. If I can use that pun related to his name, amount of kills. So we'll start in the kitchen downstairs.
Interesting that that Maestro was the one banned out instead of Echo, but it is an IP we're talking about here, and Julio does enjoy himself some Echo play. He's been using it quite a lot lately, and honestly, the play rate for Echo, without an IP running it so consistently, I imagine would be in the teens instead of the 20s, where it's at currently, and the ban rate would probably be upwards of 70% rather than the 62 it was at to start the day. So Echo will get slipped in through here into Coastline, but we lose the Mira, we lose the Maestro, so we won't be seeing the new changes to the Evil Eyes in this specific game. Did see it last time around momentarily. But the big change, the new patch coming out yesterday, it'll be Revolts picking up the Capital. New expanded radius for those asphyxiating bolts, but lower damage per tick on those bolts.
So when you fire the asphyxiating bolts from Capital, it takes a while for it to grow in size. It's not instantaneous. You actually saw that visually in our last matchup on FaZe and Ince when FaZe was bringing the Capital, trying to flush Uke out of admin office. What happened? Well, you saw the fire begin to spread, and then spread and spread and spread, much like a normal fire. And interestingly enough, a lot of people forget that the reason why they are called asphyxiating bolts is not because they set you on fire, but because they burn the oxygen around you. And without oxygen, you die. So a little fun fact for you here.
Welcome to Parker Mackay's anatomy class.
That's exactly how it works. More so biology, Robert. Possibly even more chemistry, but that's okay.
Fine, be that way.
I will indeed be that way. Kamikaze's been droned out over by luggage stairs, realizing there might be a push from over on luggage. Well, he'll just wait and watch the doorways. You hear a number of sounds rattle off from a variety of different operators. We got Norden on rappel on the window, and I don't think paiN are really understanding how to enter over towards Penthouse. Kamikaze is up doing his best impression of a vase in the alcove in the hallway. And while he's not going to break, not unlike the vase did, he's going to take spawns out of action, and the very first death in this game will come to paiN Gaming.
You can see GCR and FK1 have made it actually into, Billiards Bar and into VIP and start ripping up the floor here for GCR, but no one's taking the fight, and they haven't done anything to clear out the theater side roam. I mean, this could be 3 members of Ninjas in Pyjamas descending upon them should they try and push over towards either staircase. This is a bad look here, and Psycho's going to take the engagement and win it out against GCR. Revolts is bailed out now, and FK1 nowhere to be found. This upstairs roam inside of theater and penthouse for NIP, flawless thus far. The Echo drones will ring out from Julio, disorienting a couple members, and that's FK1. He's been disoriented upstairs inside of the bar, and looks like Psycho might be going for a jump out the big window here, as 30 seconds now remain. Kamikaze's made his way into the Lamborghini doorway with one man holding pat for any flank hold. You don't have the members to do this if you're paiN. paiN will cut down another one as Norden will fall. Kamikaze just missing the retreat here from Revolt, and shots will ring out, but none will connect. Detected outside. The diffuser is surrendered outside the door as well, and Revolt's finally able to connect onto the backside as Kamikaze as he tries to retreat. But you still got FK1 inside of Courtyard Hallway. He's able to drop Muzi for one in behind the Lambo desk, but there's no time remaining. They're going to grab the kill, but it's all for naught. Julio wipes it up with two. That's NIP handedly taking the first round.
You mentioned the Echo, like the start of the round, and how Julio loves playing on him, and what happens? Well, he gets the final 2 kills. And in addition to the Valkyrie, there was no doubt that Ninjas in Pyjamas had a pretty good look at most of the entryways to the site, and then the site itself, with the way the 2 yokais were likely positioned. The main struggle for paiN was to... Sorry, I hiccuped on my words. The main struggle for paiN there was just simply the entry. They threw a lot of drones at various members of NIP, but there wasn't a quick follow-up. We saw that first and foremost with spawns getting dropped in that altercation, the hallway just outside of Penthouse, or rather the theater to be more exact, was that there was 2 drones that went out there, found out where Kamikaze was playing as the Legion, but it took them 5 seconds to 10 seconds to be able to get anybody in that area. And then Norden, who was repelled on that same window where he could stare at the corpse of spawns, well, can't help.
It was a very slow attack from paiN. Very disjointed as well. There wasn't support for spawns. No one close for a trade. I mean, reminiscent of what we were seeing last game on Consulate coming out of INTZ on their attacks. Very, very sparse between each member of the attacking side. They're clear, really relying on individual skill and being able to win your 1v1s, and that just was not the case there, especially for GCR, who gets challenged by Psycho on an MPX and can't win that out, even anticipating. ACOG advantage, rate of fire advantage, you've got damage advantage, you've got positioning advantage behind a couch inside a cover instead of just being completely exposed in the hallway. But Psycho, incredible proficiency and incredible skill to be able to win that out, and it all falls like dominoes for paiN there, and that's the big problem, is the only point at which it looked like paiN were working together as a team in that round was in the last 3 seconds where they collapsed onto the Lambo desk. So the Echo drones again will be placed and dispersed around the map here by Julio. He's looking to cordon off at least one yokai inside the objective, and there goes the second one. Looks like it's inside of VIP. Watching for any push on the backside. You do have Norden with the Hibana, who could push in through VIP, and VIP was not a hard room to grab for paiN Gaming last time around, but it was the inability to clear out the theater roam that was really their demise. Unable to secure a lot of map control and unable to watch their flanks, unable to win their gunfights on those eventual flanks, and a default camera left up outside as well. We've seen a couple of these happening now, a couple cases where default cameras are left up and can provide immeasurable amounts of intel just because everyone on the attacking side assumes the default is taken away.
It's kind of an interesting reminder to anybody who plays this game at any real level that, hey, those mistakes get made by even the best players in the world, so you can take some solace in that. So, well, one thing that has been successful for paiN Gaming is their entry has not resulted in any of them losing their life just yet, though you do see some surveillance from Ninjas in Pyjamas. Julio has one body spotted all the way down in blue bar. It's the yokai that's positioned. And now the buck of GCR, likely who was the intended target of that blast from the yokai, is still going to exist downstairs in office. But look at the amount of time that's just been eaten away by not the patience of NIP, more so the inability for paiN Gaming to be able to take up any ground quickly enough.
Yeah, paiN's pace right now, extremely slow. They don't even have any map control. Look at their members. You got GCR's downstairs inside of Office, who's done a little bit of reconstruction onto the Office wall and up into behind the aquarium bar, but you still got Pino looking down with a shotgun. Muzi on a roam here as well, could come in for the flank from behind. This is just not a lot of anything for paiN. This has been toiling outside for 2.5 minutes. 40
seconds and you've still got, well, almost 30 seconds. You've still got a number of bodies upstairs on the roof even. It looked like you had Revolts over on the balcony all by himself. Muzi hasn't even needed to do anything because you've still got bodies upstairs. Norden knocking on those double doors as Psycho and Muzi are in a position to walk all the way through luggage. Will try his best to choke out any push, as it's now going to be a very slow retake for Ninjas in Pyjamas. And Norden will be the very first body to fall, but then there's two right on top of it. FK is able to get a kill on everybody falling all around, but Nip will just simply win that one out. We're able to out-muscle paiN, who pick up 2 kills in the process, but same kill count as last round. That's 5 for Nip and 2 for paiN. It's not going to help you in the dying stretches of a round. Extraordinary caution from paiN ends up biting them, and that's the second round for Nip, who have now won both Kitchen and Hookah, and will move to another site, which appears to be the double bars. I'm really curious, because the very first round we said that paiN's drone work was not the best. They drone out a couple positions, but then there's nobody there being droned in. There's nobody really to follow up on it. What happened in that round in particular? paiN was spread out all over the place. They had a couple bodies up on the roof. It looked like 2. They had one body over by the Aqua balcony. It was a Capitao who was just sitting there hanging out, literally, on rappel, possibly droning. But then Norden walks on in. There's nobody who seems to have cleared over on theater side or even the main lobby. All those bodies from paiN stacked up in the same area, yet they couldn't possibly have somebody dedicated to flank watch.
The most shocking part of that round for paiN is that you didn't have a single soul inside the body, inside the building, other than GCR, who was downstairs inside of office. And he was still too afraid to push into blue bar and try and push Pino out of his strong position behind that pink bar inside of billiards. Other than that, everyone for paiN on the roof or on rappel droning for 2.5 minutes. And then it comes into a logjam inside of Aquarium. You have 4 bodies all dying to defenders from multiple angles. They had a crossfire. That shouldn't be the case. On Coastline, you should be able to hold that flank effectively. Nobody watching. I mean, if you got that many people on rooftops and on a balcony, pay attention to your flanks through luggage. Pay attention to your flanks through VIP hallway. I mean, there was no pressure and there was no setup there for paiN. It seemed like they could not find an entry. They were way too intimidated to push into the building and start an engagement anywhere and start anything as far as map control. It all comes down to this just onslaught inside of Aquarium, and it does not bode well for them with no time and all the utility advantage in the defender's side.
You noticed how hesitant paiN seemed to be to enter through Aqua because of the hold, knocking on the door, as I called it, getting very close to being able to push into billiards. Well, Ninjas in Pyjamas have put a number of bodies up inside of pink and over by the billiards table, which is reminiscent of their hold that they just had. Similar to the way that a team will defend both lobby and console office upstairs on console. You'll keep a lot of the same, or at least similar setup, and the same rooms held. So, double bars, what are you going to do? Well, the site that Nip just defended is directly above it. So you can have a very similar setup, but you might play it a little bit differently, and because of all these open hatches, you have an opportunity to drop. There aren't a lot of hatches on Coastline, if you really think about it in comparison to other maps, but the ones that are available tend to be over on the kitchen side, the lobby side. This is as good an opportunity as ever for you to be able to drop back down. It'll be utilized, as we mentioned, not just is Psycho good at being able to get the kills here, but almost losing his own life. Almost half of his HP falls, but that's a good kill on the spawns, as just a little off screen, you'd see Pino take out Norden, the only hard breacher, and very odd for teams to run a dedicated hard breacher on Coastline, but that's the way that paiN is going to play it. Got a minute or so left. Ninjas in Pyjamas, once again, has not lost a body through the early part of the round.
The isolation for paiN, again, is their downfall. You've got 2 members inside the building in Norden and Spawns, and yet they're on completely opposite sides of the map from one another, and there's no one even in the same country to try and support them. So now your 2 members that were inside the building fall, and everyone else was up on rooftops yet again. Psycho's going to go for another big run out outside of the office door. FK1 will fall. The diffuser still surrendered. Muzi will cut down Revolt. So now it's just GCR disoriented by a yokai. Muzi with a quick 2-piece to round out the round. NIP dominant, and paiN seem like ghosts of themselves right now.
It's a 3-0, and there was nobody lost on that round for Nip at all. paiN get, what, 2 kills first round, 2 kills second round, 0 kills third round, and now the rotation will start again. Teams just don't really play Penthouse Theater anymore.
No.
So it's very likely that Nip is going to keep holding with the same rotation unless they lose a round, and then they're free to go back to a site.
Yeah, I don't know what the intimidation factor is coming from for paiN. I mean, at some point you got to kick it into high gear and realize that your lives are on the line, because this looks like they're just rolling over. This looks like they've already committed to the fact that, hey, yeah, we're getting auto-relegated, who gives a damn? You cannot take that mentality, man. There's still a chance. There's still a possibility. And yet, they don't look like they're pushing with any intensity. They don't look like they care about their spot right now. And that's a harsh thing to say. Don't get me wrong. I understand that that's a mean thing to say. But look at the evidence. They won't get in the building. They won't take a fight. They're playing off their back foot while fighting for their lives. And you can't fight for your life in that scenario. You have to be able to take the aggressive stance. I know NIP are a very good team. But paiN, you're in Pro League. You've been here the whole season. Try and keep that spot. And right now it looks like they're just going through the motions right now. It looks like they are not fighting with any intensity. And this could ultimately be their demise. We've seen rough starts from paiN equalize later on. It could be a case of paiN just needing to wake up. They got to wake up fast, because this is snowballing into nearly unrecoverable territory.
Well, barring the Ints and Liquid matches, paiN have not been able to get more than 2 rounds out of the second half. So your outliers are the fact that against Ints, who at that point still looked like one of the worst teams in Latin America, keep in mind that both paiN and Ints were at the bottom of the leaderboard starting off this second half. So it was literally the battle of 2 of the worst teams. A 6-6 draw just shows you that they're both fairly well matched. Ints has since picked that up. But the more interesting is the 6-6 scoreline against Liquid last week. This was a team that was up 5-3 against Liquid until Liquid stormed back and forced a draw in a match that really did not look like Liquid had it in them to be able to keep that same pace. The question that arises in my mind then is, have Liquid fallen off that much, or was it just simply that paiN doesn't play Coastline? They do play Border, which was the match last week. Have they given up, as you said? Are NIP just looking this strong? It's tough to be able to get a clear answer on that. I think it's a little bit of all of them actually mixed together. I do think that NIP have looked mighty okay through the second half, in fact, quite good. But this has not been a good effort from paiN. They have made a lot of mistakes. They've looked incredibly patient, and not the good kind of patience.
No. The kind of patience that will put you in a body bag. Like, this is over a minute and a half now spent for FK1 inside of luggage, just unable to clear out one member, and he's allowed the escape of Psycho yet again. Kamikaze's dipped downstairs, but finally GCR will get off on the right foot for a moment, as Muzi will fall, but Psycho in the immediate trade, and they'll start retreating back downstairs. NIP in a beautiful spot, and Julio taking the fight to Norton and winning it out from behind the Lambo Death. Psycho's been down by an asphyxiating bolt at the hands of Revolt, but FK1 still refusing to push in and try and pick up the tempo in this game.
So this is a good start, a better start for paiN, in which we'll need to transition through the mid-round with a minute left to go, and whether they'll be able to do anything with that, as Psycho's probably going to try to crawl to safety, get picked up with only 20 HP inside of security. Julio finished off inside of the main lobby, so Psycho very low on HP will make it so that NIP's chances get a little bit more difficult, but you can never really count Psycho out in really any circumstance. The bigger problem is that there's only one body on site. That's paiN. He will be tasked with guarding everybody off as Psycho now runs through the door. Looks to get back in. Rolls inside of that main corridor. 20 seconds to go. You got to get going, paiN, if you want to be able to take this round. You've lost everyone so far. Now's your starting point. Psycho with the pre-fire through the doorway all the way down to service as he'll wait for the rest of his team. Kamikaze falls. It's very difficult for NIP. Smokes will go in to try and just shroud off any information. As you'll see paiN Gaming hit the deck. paiN still in this power position, waiting to see. Oh, a C4 will connect. 2 seconds left. And they'll be able to get the diffuser down. No, nobody from paiN will be able to make a recovery, and Ninjas in Pyjamas will just simply hang on. That came much closer. Still, all of that hesitation, which has been the story so far from paiN, through the first 90 seconds of the round, they could not make it up in the latter half. Can't get that diffuser down, and they become the victim of time as Psycho's C4 lands beautifully all the way from that kitchen pantry wall. And it's paiN Gaming still searching for a round.
That one looked a lot better for paiN. GCR got things off started things off with a bang, really. And then I really wanted paiN to really invest into locking down that rotation from theater back downstairs. Seemed like a crucial pivot point that NIP needed to be able to hold down the rest of their defense. At the end of the day, it comes down to time control again. paiN trying to site execute with, what, 10 seconds left, 5 seconds left. Diffuser surrendered at the behest of a Nitro Cell. It's 4 in a row for NIP that have really started to tear away with this, and it's not even really NIP winning this game. It's paiN losing it, and that's one of the biggest problems for them. And it's hard to try and analyze something that really comes down to mindset more than strategy. You know, I could analyze a strategy all day if I wanted to, but this is mindset. This is mentality. This is paiN just not being awake and not starting on time. I mean, if you're going to pull out that kind of performance in round number 4, it's probably the performance you wanted in round number 1. But it's still doable. We've seen crazy comebacks before. paiN just really need to get into the driver's seat for the next 2 rounds, send this to a 4-2 half, and man, they got to bring the pace in the second half on the defensive side if they're going to come away with any points that will salvage them. Because just a reminder, if paiN lose this game, it's over. They're auto-relegated. Next week doesn't even matter.
If they were able to get a draw and Red Devils loses today, then paiN still has their pivotal matchup next week against Red Devils, in which if paiN wins, well, they would try to pursue the tiebreaker. Right now, Red Devils has it. Red Devils beat paiN in the first half 7-4. So unless paiN is able to win with that same margin, they have to hope on round differential, which I don't remember off the top of my head, but I mean, Red Devils has just looked so dreadful over the last 5 games that they have not really picked up any rounds. paiN similar. Both teams have been dropping a lot of rounds. These games have not been particularly close. But you're right. This is do or die for paiN Gaming. Similarly for NIP, because they want to be able to keep in the running here. It's a nice down that you see onto Pino, finished off by the Twitch drone. Reduction in the amount of tases it gets, but it can still harass effectively. Pino was instrumental the last time that we saw Ninjas in Pyjamas go to this site, and because of this, taking the smoke out of the equation means that it's going to be a lot easier for you to be able to push onto the billiard table. What I find most interesting about this is that we've condemned paiN for being very inaccurate with their droning and not really knowing where everybody is. But we just saw how effective that Twitch drone was all on its lonesome. It took the ADS away from Julio, who's now very susceptible to getting grenaded from either the sledge or the buck that's on the board for paiN Gaming. And it also gave Kamikaze's position away by those punch holes in the back of Hookah.
Well, you've got a flank coming out for NIP right now. It's Muzi on the top of the theater stairs. Turn our attention away momentarily as Norton's still firing into the depths of the objective. And Muzi here will be instrumental on a flank. He's going to have to cut down this aquarium hold. Psycho, though, will rip GCR off the main window. Kamikaze tags in for 2 now as Norton will fall. There goes your breach already doing the job of ripping up Swiss cheese holes in the back of that pink bar wall. Frag grenades come soaring in as the Twitch did his job of clearing out the ADSs. Another frag as the stun lock comes in, but it's still not enough to clear out Kamikaze. Playing the top of theater stairs, and Psycho with a big 2K on the Nitro cell. Spawns twisting. There's not much to be done as he toils inside of the objective, and Kamikaze will close it out with a shotgun blast. It seems to be nearing the final nail in the coffin here for paiN Gaming as it's 5 in a row for NIP. A much better pace in that round for paiN. Again, they're stepping things up round by round. It's the site execute that still seems to be their problem.
It's going to be an interesting one to see what unfolds, because keep in mind that there was something in the works for FaZe here to be able to clinch their spot if Ninjas in Pyjamas drew or lost. Barring a miracle, it doesn't seem that that's going to happen. I mean, unless you decide to win the next 7 consecutive rounds for paiN. Haven't been able to win one yet. It came close on round number 4, but round number 5 really just came down to, once again, time management, not being able to push, something falling short for paiN. I don't even know what you do if you're paiN at this point, right? You can't effectively drone. Your entry has largely been weak. In that round that just transpired, what happens? You kill Pino. You have the Twitch drone take away one of the tools for Echo to possibly get a grenade. You could take out Echo playing at the top of Cool Vibe stairs. You spot the mute playing as well. You have 4 sets, or 4 frag grenades, 2 sets. And you still couldn't really do much with them. And I don't know. I don't know if as you said, is correct, that hey, maybe they've given up at this point. Maybe they know that they're not going anywhere. But they just seem lifeless. And then, I mean, when you've got some of the players on NIP playing as well as they have, Psycho in particular, 10 kills, 10-0-1. on Valkyrie, an operator that NiP does tend to use as one of their main roamers, mind you. So for a lot of teams, they might nestle up a Valkyrie in sight, just watch her cams, keep her for plant denial. You know, think about the way that you use her on a bank defense. I don't really know. But it doesn't really matter. He's now 10-0-2. As Psycho is vanquished within the first 15 seconds of this round. I don't know if he was just getting very aggressive because NiP realized that they can just do things that are uncommon because you have such a lead. And even at this point, you have to worry about momentum no matter what team you are. But against it, with how paiN has been playing so far, I think there's less of a concern with, hey, if they get a round or two, you know, we're going to throw this one away. It could possibly have been the decision there, just to have Psycho get very aggressive. Regardless, last defense, 4 ninjas in pajamas, and they'll go back down to the double bars. So this cycle that they've been running has now been complete.
Yeah, it's the last round of the first half here, which is actually pretty pivotal. It's a difference maker. Stop it. Honestly, just stop the bleeding. Stop the bleeding entirely. GCR will take down Kamikaze as well, but FK1 immediately traded out by Muzi from in behind that hookah bar. He's got pressure now from the VIP doors as GCR lighting up his wall, but unable to connect. You still have Julio in support from the midst of Cool Vibe stairs and paiN dropping down in behind the Sunrise bar. So still a well-structured setup here for NIP, but they're down a member and they're down another as Spawns will connect onto the head of Muzi. And this is much better look here from paiN. NIP overextending themselves on the aggression, but now 3 about to line up for Julio at the top of the Cool Vibe stairs. One will not fall down. GCR will be down, but not finished off just yet, and he cannot connect onto Spawns. Now you've got paiN pushing up to try and collect the down. The revive facilitated. The smoke comes out at the top of the stairs, peeking in. A frag grenade cooked as it'll send down the stairs. GCR will fall. Spawns on 5 HP as well. Revolts. And Norden trying to push in through the office and pinch off paiN. He's now safely planted in behind the bar. Plant going down on the opposite side as he tries to rip away, and the cover from the Sunrise door not effective. paiN on 5 HP, and it looks like paiN Gaming are about to grab their first round. Toxic Babe will detonate, disrupting your visibility, and this wall isn't opened up. This is actually a very scary spot here, but there goes Spawns sledging open a nice little hole. As he pushes into office, Norden will collect the kill. It's paiN Gaming getting one at the behest of the aggression from Ninjas in Pajamas not paying off. It's still a 5-1 deficit.
Yeah, that was more so just NiP being extremely aggressive, as you said. The aggression from Ninjas in Pajamas not paying off is a great way of you know, tying a bow on that round, packaging up and sending it out. NiP, I think, realized at that point that, hey, maybe we can break their backs. They're already probably somewhat frustrated. I would imagine that you're not happy. I mean, even if you've, at this point, kind of accepted the fate around your team, who knows? It's tough to be an armchair psychologist as to how these teams play and whether they're being, you know, frustrated by what's going on, etc. I just can't see a team at this level being happy being down 5-0.
No.
Even if they've accepted the fact that they're probably going to be getting relegated, at least statistically, that's extremely likely. So what does NiP do? You can get really aggressive. And like I said in the onset after Psycho got picked off really early on, is that you don't have to really fear paiN warming up, you know, the engine and then finding another tier. It's just not the way paiN has been playing so far. And they were gifted a lot of opportunities to get early picks. Julio did miss a couple shots on the Cool Vibe stairs as well. I think most of his bullets hit that railing, but an MP5 suppress doesn't do a lot of damage anyway, especially when you're hitting the body and the lower body, which is where Julio was aiming onto Spawns. So a lot of that was paiN reading the opportunities that NiP was giving them, but NiP didn't need to give them those opportunities at all. That's out of place for the way that NiP played those first 5 rounds. We'll see how it changes. Because if paiN are not particularly well-versed with this map, which is very possible, they might not be as experienced as Ninjas in Pajamas, then it's easier for you to defend.
The half swap will help kill a lot of momentum, too. You finally get that one in the last of the first half, and then as soon as you swap over to the opposite side, I mean, it's a whole new read. It's a whole new situation for you to be in. You just attacked for 6 rounds in a row if you're paiN Gaming, and now you got to defend. Same thing for NIP. You can start switching up the playbook on them and bring out something that they're not expecting. And that was another issue that paiN were having, was being unable to read what NIP were presenting them on the defensive side, and I imagine it'll be a flaw that continues for paiN on their defenses. You got the Twitch drone coming up from Psycho. It looks like he's identified at least one of these Yokai drones. No? Maybe? I mean, it's clear as day right there up on the ceiling, but doesn't look like Psycho has spotted it and taken it out, and there goes his Twitch drone. So, Psycho maybe not having the same FOV, aspect ratio, whatever graphic settings we have on the spectator, and missed the Echo drone at the top of the hallway. So that's still, it's 2 Yokais up for revolts. I mean, you're in a lucky scenario there that Psycho just missed that.
I will forever be fascinated at how much of a change Capitao underwent just simply by getting the scope onto the M249. It went from being statistically one of the least enjoyed weapons and one of the worst weapons to now played in almost the hands of every single Capitao. And while his damage has been reduced, you've got that area of effect growing, and he's going to be seeing a different amount of use. Now, Muzi on the door will be able to take out Norden all the way through the bar inside of Aquarium. Muzi's got free access to take the rest of Aqua and push on in. You've got 2 bodies from paiN down below. You see GCR getting recalled to site. He's going to come up through Cool Vibe stairs. There's nobody pressuring onto Hookah just yet, even though there is a member of NiP above it, just waiting to possibly drop. It's a very singular focus from NiP over on Aqua. The scope from Julia will try to find somebody, but there's nobody home. It's a grenade that's going to take out GCR as he has a bit of difficulty to be able to hop on through. He's not going to go anywhere. Spawns will find a target, though, with that C4 and try to come back to the site. It seems like NiP is at least in good position. Keep in mind that paiN's only plant denial now will rest in the hands of Goo mines that might already be situated somewhere on the map, and then the Yokai drones as well. But down goes Revolt, so the Yokai drones will work as invisible cameras, but that will be it. FK1 below, but he doesn't have a Nitro cell. He's playing as a Legion with Spawns possibly able to pull out that cardiac sensor. He'll spot 3 bodies from NiP if he does choose to turn around, but his attention is elsewhere. He'll just simply wait. NiP might not even know, but the UMP is not the strongest of weapons. Kamikaze just walks right up Cool Vibe stairs, it appears. It's a kill there, but no FK1. Undeterred inside of Hookah. Will now try to go through the rotate, but he'll be shut down by Julio. That beautiful scope on the M249. So clean, so pristine. 6 points for Ninjas in Pyjamas, or 6 rounds for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They'll get 1 point at minimum. paiN Gaming in tough shape, and any momentum that possibly could have been generated from that side switch and from them picking up the last round of their attack, it's gonna disappear.
So, all indications point to NIP taking this game, so now we turn our attention towards the next one as far as the standings are concerned and possible playoff scenarios. You still got Immortals coming up next in game number 3, who, with this win here, NIP will pass Immortals momentarily. FaZe as well have surpassed Immortals in the standings, but we have yet to see Immortals play their game. That's going to be the most watched game now for everyone in this hunt, because NIP will pass to 25 should they get this win and close out either in this round or in the subsequent rounds to follow. And then it'll be FaZe at 27. So for Immortals, it's not a tough task. I mean, even if you get 1, it comes down to a tiebreak between you and NIP. But any misstep here from Immortals could lead NIP to the possibility of closing out a land spot next week. It's doable here, and I mean, this is a decisive almost win. We're about there against paiN. It's going to help your round differential, which could come down to a tiebreak, could come down to a mini league like we almost saw in North America. It's very doable. Very, very doable here for NIP on the run, especially with this strong of a performance. Muzi coming in had a slower start for his first game just a few weeks ago, but he seems to turn on the jets here, and this is exactly what you want to see for NIP coming into full form heading into a possible LAN run. And now you've got Psycho heading up towards the Hookah balcony. We're finally able to see those default cameras taken away. There we go. They're nailing it this time.
So I'm glad that Psycho is running an IQ. If you recall all the way back to the 6 Invitational group stages, one of the biggest criticisms that we had about Ninjas in Pyjamas when they were playing FaZe was that FaZe was able to abuse the information game. Valkyrie in particular was the undoing of Ninjas in Pyjamas on a number of rounds, and because NiP didn't run an IQ once, not once, on Coastline, they fell off. Keep in mind, it was a great performance from FaZe to be able to take them down at that point. I'm actually very curious to remember the scoreline on Coastline. It was 7-0 for FaZe against NiP on Coastline. And a big part of that was that NiP's 6 attacking rounds, they did not bring an IQ at all and consistently lost out. I like this change. Putting Psycho on the operator is important, whether you're going to run an IQ, whether you're going to run a Twitch, etc. Being able to determine the location of all of the gadgetry that paiN is going to be bringing, which in this case will be an Echo and a Valkyrie, bringing their Yokais and Evil Eye Cams respectively. Echo being played quite extensively. As you mentioned, you know that Julio likes playing him, well, so is Revolts. He's a very powerful operator. That's why he does inhabit usually the top 2 ban rates. It's not going to be an Echo involved in that altercation. It's going to be FK1 down at the main desk. It's going to eliminate paiN. Now Muzi also being felled to spawns as both these teams decide that, hey, it doesn't really matter what time it is, we're just going to go for broke here. It's a 3v3 in a hurry. Still almost half of the round to play with, as his kitchen defense for paiN Gaming has a bunch of altercations happen very far off-site. Who's going to recover the best over the next minute of play, as nobody is really close to the site on Ninjas in Pyjamas' side, and will need to push on up.
Well, both of your young gunners for NIP have been taken away and sent to the grave. Muzi and paiN fall, and I like this fight back here from paiN Gaming. It might be 7 rounds too late, but at least they're showing some signs of life. It sounded like some X-Kairos from Kamikaze were deployed either onto the wall looking into service entrance, maybe elsewhere, but they haven't detonated just yet. The Toxic Babe coming out to repel the entry from Julio into the service doorway as well. Norden will cut down Psycho. So there goes your IQ, so your Valkyrie cameras and your Yokai drones will still remain intact unless they're spotted out manually by the remaining attackers. Just 15 seconds left as Kamikaze and Julio need to send it into the bathroom. Spawns whiffing a lot of shots, but he doesn't lose much of his life for it. Julio will collect the kill now as Spawns will fall. It's a 2v2 and they have to bull rush the objective. So they got 2 stacked inside a kitchen waiting on the rotation. Diffuser will fall. Norden and Revolts tack on for 2. paiN Gaming stave off elimination for at least 1 more round. They get their first on the defensive half. Time management for NIP. It seems like they were shocked by the aggression that paiN were taking. Different mindset, different result. They come away with another round.
I think paiN was astonished that he lost that fight to FK1 downstairs at the main lobby as well. I don't think you were anticipating somebody playing down there, though. We saw Julio playing the Echo in that spot. As long as you can hold off a push through the main lobby doorway, you don't really need to worry that much because a lot of teams won't necessarily go through the main lobby until a later portion of the round, especially when it's a kitchen defense, because the presumption is that you're going to have somebody possibly playing in bathroom, possibly playing in that little pantry alcove behind the bomb, and then possibly somebody playing over by the 3 reinforced walls that lead to the main lobby. Ultimately, NIP didn't really know exactly what to do once they lost those 2 bodies early on, and yeah, that much action. 4 kills in the first 90, 100 seconds, somewhere in that window. It definitely impacted NIP's ability to push the site. They didn't really have the tools outside of the Capitao to make much work, and then they just prioritized incorrectly. Add in the fact that they waited about a minute until they actually started to push at that point. You have to work against a clock. You always have to work against the clock as the attackers. We mentioned this in the phase. Ins matchup, but sometimes it's not even the players on your opponent's team. It's sometimes the fact that you beat yourself on timing. That's all. So, it's a successful kitchen defense for paiN. They managed to win their second round. They're going to go back up to Hookah. Now, I'm interested in the thought process of this because you went up to Hookah and you lost. And now you're going back up to Hookah again when you had an opportunity to possibly go to the double bars downstairs.
Could have also gone to Penthouse and Theater. I mean, we talk about throwing curveballs. That is definitely a curveball these days, as Pen Theater just never gets played. But you could catch them off guard with maybe a different operator stack, anticipating a different composition on the objective. GCR will be the lone man on the roam right now over by Theater as the drones come out and try and identify his position, Muzi. Okay, he's going to miss FK1 as he crosses directly in front of him. I've never heard my voice get that high pitch before. Psycho inside of the big window now will cut off FK1 as he's now inside of Theater next to a reinforced wall, so he can't spray through just yet to collect the kill. But he's pinched down inside of Theater with nowhere to go. He's going to have to win out this fight against Psycho. Ping's coming out from the drones as well. They've isolated him off. He's got no support coming in. The asphyxiating bolts will burn him out, and Psycho will finally collect the kill with that commander.
Norton's still up here inside of Aqua, just by the billiard table, as he's going to see GCR able to collect the kill onto paiN. So yet again, you're going to see paiN involved in the very first round, and a beautiful C4 will collapse the ground underneath Psycho and take the rest of him out. paiN have seemingly been invigorated over the last 3 to 4 minutes, and Ninja Pyjamas, a team that has shown through their performance at the Invitational a couple months back that the tilt factor is very real in their roster, will need to ensure that they're not going to let this game get out of hand.
This is a good response here from paiN. I love the aggression. I love the tempo that they're setting now. They finally seem like the team that is dictating the pace. And if this hadn't come out so late, you know, this could have been a much closer game. It took them a while to read the situation, understand that this was the play they needed to go for and take the fight to NIP. Could also just be a scenario where paiN are just much more comfortable and much more hard set in their ways on the defense. They could just enjoy playing the defense much more. Moosey's going to make it in behind the aquarium bar only for a moment, as now the X-Kairos will detonate onto the back of the bar wall. And you got a 3v4 here to work out if you're paiN Gaming to try and put the game in the books. So they got spawns down below inside of Office. He doesn't have a Nitro Cell anymore as he utilized it to collect the kill onto Psycho, and that's actually huge because that's your IQ gone. He's going to be safe downstairs, and he's got the Yokais.
I was exactly just going to mention that. The fact that you don't have an IQ against this lineup from paiN Gaming, where you have Gumines on the board, ADSs, Yokais, and as well as a cardiac sensor, is particularly damning. But it doesn't really matter, because Ninjas in Pyjamas will try to enter on through the Aqua doorway. Moosey gets down, Julio downed as well. Moosey finished off. It's going to be Kamikaze in a 1v4. He's going to look the wrong way towards Cool Vibe stairs and not going to be able to even make it in through the doorway as Revolts greets him and says, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again soon. paiN Gaming have now won 3 in the last 4 rounds, 2 in a row. And as much as I said that you need to ensure that you're not giving up the momentum, and paiN Gaming might not be the team to be able to capitalize on that, this is when you start to worry if you're NIP.
All it takes is one for NIP to close this out, but it is a good storm back here from paiN Gaming, I guess, for morale's sake. Like we said, if paiN Gaming, by the grace of whatever God, would give them this tie, if they could come away with a point and then ultimately have Red Devils lose today later on, it is doable that they could come down to the tiebreak. It would just come down to the Week 14 game against Red Devils next week for paiN to stave off an elimination spot or auto relegation spot. We're going to go to the Blue Bar and Sunrise Bar now as paiN Gaming, I guess, correcting their flaws upstairs inside of hookah and billiards. They're still locked out of kitchen. Nobody likes going Penn Theater. Process of elimination leaves you with 1. So we go to the double bars, and almost an identical roster coming out from paiN yet again. It's just the Valkyrie will stick this time around instead of being 6-picked off to a pulse.
I guess Nip just realized the IQ pick wasn't worthwhile. I guess.
Yeah, they put Psycho back on Twitch. He did run Twitch for the first attack, and then swapped off to the IQ for the last couple.
I mean, if you want Psycho involved in the action, then putting him on IQ in a role where you need more of a support-oriented player to be able to find all the devices for paiN, then maybe that wasn't the best choice. If you look at the lineup here, on the double bars, I'm curious as to how Kamikaze will use the X-Kairos. You might possibly try above if any of the hatches are reinforced to give yourself some control, though some teams will defend aggressively inside of hookah and then open one of the hatches up to be able to drop through. Speculation on our part, but the one common factor between these two teams over the last 9 rounds and will continue through this 10th round is that a hard breach has been brought on Coastline. It's not really something that we see in North America. It's not really something we see in Europe at all.
No, it's an interesting strategy. It seems like redundancy and safety at the end of the day, just in case someone does pull out a Penn Theater defense, which is really the only objective you would truly need. Almost connecting onto the head there. Looks like his GCR as he's backing out of the kitchen doorway.
I mean, I could see bringing a Hibana when you're attacking the hookah site upstairs. You know, take the wall out of pink, which is what we saw the X-Kairos doing from Kamikaze on the previous round, sure, but you're taking up a space that could possibly be used for Dokkaebi, that could possibly be used for Ying, that could possibly be used for Jackal. And you're really putting a lot of work on the Capitao, who's going to be the sole person on your team with the ability to use smokes. Moosey will walk right in, take out FK1, and look for a second. He'll go fishing. He catches it. He'll be the angler today with GCR falling as well, and Nip taking 2 early opening kills. I mean, opening, but it takes 90 seconds to be able to get it as Moosey has been downed. Whether paiN is going to be able to get this kill or not. As we picked back up, will continue to frag with only 20 HP.
Eyes on target, first floor.
The defense inside of bar still structured quite well for paiN Gaming. You can see all the drones that were laid at the feet there of Revolt in behind the bar. Skyros charges coming out onto the entrance walls. And they'll detonate to allow just a secondary entrance point and better angles opened up in towards the bar for any potential rushes to stop the diffuser. Still got to worry about Revolts now, who's been down by a frag grenade, it sounds like, from Pino. As Spawns has made it upstairs into Hookah, but Julio collects with the asphyxiating bolt. He's got Psycho locking down Norden as well, leaving Spawns alone in a 1v5 on the Cool Vibe stairs to keep his team in this. And that is paiN Gaming auto-relegated.
Perfect round for Ninjas in Pyjamas to drive the nail into the coffin of paiN. A heartbreaking loss.
Very.
It's always sad to say farewell to a team, but with paiN Gaming sitting at 6 points, not even picking up 1, they will be unable to catch Red Devils. Just goes to show you how much of a buffer Red Devils had put up through that first half, with the fact that they have gone 0-0-5 and still escape auto-relegation in the second half. paiN Gaming, thank you. We'll see you next week, but that'll be it for your run in Latin America Pro League, which means that we will see a new face at the conclusion of the Latin America Challenger League series. And a new team will await the rest of Latin America. But the story for Ninjas in Pyjamas, 3 points when they were worried about the game slipping away. They're able to close that gap in the final round that they needed. It was 3 rounds in the final 4 rounds for paiN Gaming. They looked decently well, though there was a lot of shakes on Nip's side, and that's what I think really was the story for those couple rounds. As much as you want to praise the capitalization of certain teams on the mistakes that their opponents make, there were a lot of mistakes that were essentially committed by Ninjas in Pyjamas, and by forfeiting a lot of those rounds, you allowed Nip, to fall off and paiN to keep it closer than it probably should have been. Ninjas in Pyjamas still very much in the playoff hunt. For the time being, they'll actually vault over Immortals for second place. FaZe have not clinched a spot yet, and we'll see what happens in our next matchup between Immortals and Black Dragons, which could be the very first time that Immortals loses a game.
Black Dragons have looked really good with the roster changes. Moringa coming in has been huge. And, we talk about how it's the big 4. Yeah, man, it's hard to sleep on Black Dragons. It really is. The other 3 teams in Latin America, they've had their moments, but I haven't really seen another team in Latin America have consistency like Black Dragons. They have consistently looked like they can contend with the best of the best in Latin America. This is going to be a fireworks show, and it's honestly probably the easiest upset to understand out of all the games this evening, considering that there's a lot on the line for Immortals. That's got to be in the back of their head. You've got 2 teams that have now vaulted them in the standings, technically, because they have yet to play the game. But man, Black Dragons could play the biggest spoiler, ending their undefeated run in Week 13 and possibly locking them out of a land spot, because that would require FaZe losing next week. And that would require NIP to stumble as well with only 1 game remaining. Man, that's tough. That comes down to Week 14 play-in scenarios.
The one thing is that based on the map that I have here, I don't believe FaZe is able to clinch now today, because Ninjas in Pyjamas are going to be sitting at 25 points. So if FaZe loses next week, Nip can vault over them. And if Immortals wins but loses next week, Immortals still has the tiebreaker against FaZe. Mm-hmm. So there's still something to play for next week in Latin America, and we'll do the number crunching and ensure that Immortals can't clinch in this matchup. But keep in mind, not only is the playoff race in mind for Immortals in the next game, but as well for Team Liquid. If FaZe and Immortals both pick up victories today, then mathematically, Team Liquid can't make the playoffs, even if they win their next 2 games. And that's something to keep in mind as we throw to a break and get ready for our third matchup coming up next.